So I've got with me here a very familiar looking 7.9-inch tablet. No, it's not an iPad mini 4, but it kind of looks like one, doesn't it? Because it's using the same display. No, this is not the JD Tab J01 I reviewed last year. This is that model, but completely rebranded as the Alfawise Tab. So this is exactly the same model as that one from JD.com that I reviewed last year. Same spec, so it's got a quad-core MediaTek 8173 CPU in there with a maximum turbo of 2 GHz, 4 GB of RAM, 64 GB of storage, which is not expandable. So this does not have a micro SD slot on here, which is disappointing. They really should have that on there. And it does not have HDMI out, which I like to have on my tablets. But moving along now, looking at the screen. So it's 2048 by 1536 resolution. It has a maximum brightness of 440 lux. Good looking screen. It does produce some very nice colors and the blacks look quite good on this. It's fully laminated, covered with a scratch resistant glass. It's either Gorilla or Dragon Tail or similar kind of brand there. Now you will notice that around the edges there is a little bit of this IPS glow at lower brightnesses. So this could vary from unit to unit. If this bothers you, then, well, it's just really a bit of a lottery whether you're going to have an issue with that or not. My unit has a little bit there. So looking at the front of it now, we do have rather large looking bezels. Yes, it looks a bit dated now, especially we're in 2018 with bezel-less being the most popular trend with displays and now 18:9. So we do have a 5 megapixel camera at the top there, with an ambient light sensor right next to it, which is great to automatically control the brightness. I love to have this on tablets. Really, for me, it is a must. We have capacitive touch menu keys down the bottom, making use of that large bezel there. And they work just fine. There are no problems with them whatsoever. Touch accuracy and response of the screen is also really quite good. Now, the ROM it has on here is stock Android 6. So it's dated now, isn't it? Android 6. It really should be at least Android 7, because then we're going to have the split screen function. We're missing out on that with this particular model, and security patches and things like that. So don't hold your breath expecting this to get updated to Android 7 or Android 8. Honestly, I don't see that ever happening. So moving on to the build of it, it's rather premium. It has a unibody that weighs only 379 grams. Yes, I weighed it. And the thickness is 7.5 millimeters, also very good. So it's nice and portable, light, no creaks in the design whatsoever, very solid, feels good in hand with the all metal build. Metal buttons as well on the right hand side for volume up and down, a metal power button on the top. We've got a little strip here, you can see there, that is for the wireless antenna reception and Bluetooth. By the way, it has wireless AC on here, dual band, and then a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack with microphone support. So this outputs really good audio. In fact, I didn't have any static on this. It sounds really good to me. It's quite loud as well. On the left hand side, we have another microphone here. So on the back, we've got the second microphone next to that 8 megapixel camera with autofocus, which takes really average photos and video. I'll give you a sample of that later on. Nothing amazing from that to be expected from a tablet. And then down the bottom, we have this two grills here, those two grills there. And this outputs really nice sound, those speakers they have in there. So dual speakers, not great stereo separation, but they make up for that with good loudness, really good, some mids, and even a little bit of bass. I think these could actually be Harman or AKG branded speakers, because they are exactly the same as the ones that were in the JD Tab that I reviewed, and those were AKG Harman speakers. We have a Type-C port here. Now that's only USB 2 spec, so there's no display out or anything like that either. No quick charging. It only supports 5 volts, 2 amps the charger, and it will take exactly 4 hours and 25 minutes to fully charge this tablet, which is rather slow by today's standards. I would have liked to have seen some MediaTek Pump Express here, or quick charging at least. The tablet ships in a very plain box, as you can see, and all we get in here is simply a quick start guide, a 5 volt 2 amp power supply. This is an EU one, so EU plug, and then our Type-C cable in white here. Now the ROM performance on the Alfawise Tab here is exactly the same as the JD Tab 01. with the quad-core processor, maximum turbo 2 GHz, the 4 GB of RAM, it performs well. So Chrome, loading, pages up, scrolling, and because it's quite a sharp display, it all looks really good on there, even reading those tiny little comments and text. Fine, no issues with the performance of this ROM, multitasking, going between your various different applications. That is also very quick. And overall, a stock ROM that is fast and performs perfectly fine. I haven't noticed any lag or any bugs. So something unexpected was GPS support on here. It has a GPS module, but it does not have a hardware compass. But it still worked okay, accuracy down to 3 to 4 meters. And I did test it out going for a little walk with it, and it didn't seem to have any problem tracking me at all. Now in a car, I guess without the compass it won't be as good tracking your turns and things, but it should still work perfectly fine for that. So you can use this tablet for navigation. Now Antutu did test that out, got a score of 70,000. That is pretty much the same as any other MTK 8173, more or less. The internal storage isn't particularly fast, so it's eMMC 4.5 spec. So the sequential reads here of 145, they aren't too bad, and then 84 of writes, and the 4K random reads as well. Not bad for this kind of spec of drive. I did test out the wireless. Now I had a little bit of trouble connecting up to my wireless AC here in the studio, and these were the speeds I managed to get out of it. So 88 megabits per second download, around 78 upload. Not the fastest here, but it did connect up to my wireless AC at home without any issues. So not too sure why it didn't like the wireless router here in the apartment. Now onto battery life. So I managed to get 8 hours and 41 minutes. It sadly powered off at 1% before I could take any screenshots, but I did around about 6 hours of gaming, so I was pushing it quite hard. So if you're looking at, for example, just watching videos or like web use and things like that, you can expect at least 9 to 10 hours. So battery life is really quite solid on this particular Alfawise tab here. Now where a tablet like this does stand out is eBooks and PDFs, because it has that really sharp screen with a PPI of 326 and a very good brightness, fully laminated display. That it's great for ebooks. It's not the fastest device you'll come across when loading very large PDFs, but it certainly looks really good, and I just love the legibility of the screens. It's really easy to make out text because of that extra sharpness we have, and of course using it in landscape or portrait is perfectly fine. Portrait with the 4:3 ratio does fit the pages perfect there, you can see, and that's probably the way most people will use it. Of course it's personal preference there, but I really do like this tablet for ebooks and PDFs. And video streaming services such as Amazon Prime here, they run perfectly fine. The wireless can keep up, no issues with performance whatsoever. So finally, yet another tablet that actually has decent speakers out of China. Most of the ones I review, they have these horrible tiny little non-premium speakers. These ones are premium speakers, they are loud, they even have a hint of bass. I'll give you a sample of them right now. Now the fan blades is where a major redesign has taken place here. They are slightly different. When it comes to gaming performance, most games run perfectly fine and fluid. However, this game, for example Shadow Fight 3, isn't well optimized with PowerVR graphics, so it runs a little bit laggy, but as you can see, it's still perfectly playable. Just don't expect stellar performance from those games that aren't well optimized for this particular GPU. Most of the Android Store games I found tend to be optimized more for the Adreno Snapdragon chipsets. So the rear camera can shoot in 1080p, and as you can see we've got focus problems here, so it's not focusing on there very well at all. In fact, I don't think it's got a proper lock. That is a big problem, resulting in really poor quality image and lacking in details here. The other thing is that the detail of the video itself is a little bit washed out, so honestly I don't see a lot of people using it. Now the focus has come in here, you can see that yes, the quality is average for 1080p. You can use third-party applications like Open Camera to override that focus, so you can fix that to an infinity focus or to closer up or macro or something like that. And that does help solve some of that problem. As you can see, it still hasn't recovered there. That focus is a real issue on the rear camera. So this is the front-facing camera. I have noticed that there's sometimes a little bit of viewfinder lag and choppiness, and it does drop frames depending on the light. It's 1080p as well, just like that rear camera, and overall the quality is alright, better than a lot of the other tablets I have looked at in this similar price group of around 200 US. So overall, not too bad from the front-facing camera. It's good to see we do have that 1080p, and for Skype and things like that, it's perfectly fine. Okay guys, so to recap here very quickly, there's a lot of things to like about this tablet. The weight, the slimness of it, 7.5 millimeters, all metal build. It is a premium tablet, very nice screen in here. It's a little dated, but it's still an excellent screen offering a very sharp resolution with that 326 ppi, good brightness as well, and fully laminated really does make it. Touch response is also excellent on here. I like the ROM, it's stock, but I don't like the fact that it's Android 6 now, which is just too dated. And really, it should be Android 7, and I'd love to see Android 8, which I don't think any of the Chinese tablets, at least ones I review, have yet. But of course, that will be coming this year. Now, the camera performance is very average. Most people will not be buying a tablet for its cameras, but you'll get away with using this with Skype, especially the front-facing cameras, perfectly fine for Skype calls, as well as those dual microphones. And then the speakers. The speakers is probably another solid positive of this tablet. They are really quite good. They are very loud, good output on them, and just so much better than the typical Chinese tablet that I review. Normally have flat, quiet speakers, and these offer a bit of mids and bass in there. So that is really good. Now, another area that I don't like is the charge time. So it takes 4 hours and 25 minutes to charge. That's rather slow. So a little bit bothersome there, but at least this battery does last for a long time. Now, with my heavy-handed approach battery test, so I ran a lot of games just non-stop playing them and Chrome and things like that and streaming with YouTube, I managed to still get an amazing 8 hours plus out of this, which I think is really good. Now, taking a little bit easier on this tablet and keeping the brightness to around about 30-40%, you should still be able to get at least 9 to 10 hours out of this. So for me, for this size of tablet and the battery capacity and the chipset, considering all of that, it's a very solid battery life you get on this. So that's definitely one of the positives. And really, it's not a bad tablet at all. So it sells for about 200 US, which is a lot cheaper than the JD Tab J01, which is exactly the same that I reviewed last year. I think that model's still selling for close to 300 US, which is really overpriced. To me, the price is more or less okay. Of course, if it was a little bit cheaper, that would be even better. So really, it all comes down to the fact that if you need a 4:3 aspect ratio tablet with the premium build, fully laminated screen, great speakers, go for it. But if Android 6 being dated now is going to bother you, the lack of the micro SD card support, the fact it has no HDMI out, then of course, this will be one to skip. Oh, and almost forgot, it has GPS on board, which we don't often see. So having GPS is great, even though it does lack a hardware compass. It still is useful for things like maps and other GPS programs on there. So thanks a lot for watching this review. If you want to check out the review of the JD Tab J01, then that's right up here, but it is basically the same exact tablet. So really, more or less the same kind of results from that. And then check out some of my other recommended tablets like the Lenovo right here. Thanks a lot for watching this video, and I do hope to see you back in the channel soon. Bye for now.